still you have not answered the presence of Buddha image with stupa in cave number 19 and 26.
Yeah, all right. You know what happened according to my latest study, which I have carried out in the last 3 years, thanks to the funding by Secure Meters Limited, Dharohar Foundation in Udaipur. And due to that funding, I was able to carry out a very special kind of research, fundamental research, basic research, which is to find the answer of the questions whose answers do not yet exist, or whose answers are not satisfactorily available, not satisfying. So I probe this question, and the answers is very tremendous and a bit radical. So according to my study, cave number 19 and 26, these two were the only temples that were planned in the 5th century period. We have to understand how this town planning of this cliff was done. Initially, about 17 or 19 caves were planned together in 460. And it was only cave number 19 and 26 that were planned as temples. Rest were not temples. They were purely meant for uh, the dwelling purpose or congregation. So for congregation, you require a hall. And for the monastic dwelling, you require the cells, rooms. So all these caves, cave number 1, cave number 2, cave number 3 did not exist. Then it was not even planned. It was planned later on because it is sandwiched the between the two caves, cave number 1 and 2. So 3 is high up above. So that was not planned. Then you have cave number 4. So that was also purely residential, not meant for worship. Cave number 5, purely residential, and it is incomplete. I will explain later why it is incomplete. Cave number 6 also purely residential and congregation. It was not meant for worship. Cave number 7 also same story. Then cave number 8 also purely residential. It was not meant for worship. It was not planned originally like that. Cave number 9 and 10, the temples, they existed since the 2nd century BC. So it's a gap of 700 years that we are talking about. And then cave number 11, again, it was not intended to be a temple because temple was added later on. So 11 also like that, and cave number 12 existed from the 2nd century BC. And 13 is also small cave, again for monastic dwelling. And 14 is up above, it was planned in a later phase. In my periodization system, it falls into the period 3 after 473 AD. So like that, I cannot go on individually describing the caves here. But what I want to say is that it was cave number 19 and 26 only which were planned as temples. And when they were planned on the temple, on the drafting table in the original blueprint, they were planned to have chaitya only, stupa only, just as the case was in Bagh. Because Bagh was also begun simultaneously when Ajanta was begun. By the way, my new study reveals that Bagh and Ajanta are only geographically separated. One is in the western Malwa, that is the ancient Valkha region. Okay, and another one is here. But my latest chronology chart, it tells me that Valkha region came in the possession of Harisena the moment he came to the power in 460 AD, in 459 or 460 AD. This is my chronology chart, which is slightly different from Professor Spink's chart. So what happens? In Bagh and Ajanta were planned together, they were begun together. But Bagh was slightly ahead of time. Say Bagh cave number 4, where they began the excavation. Here also they began the excavation. What happened in the and that was also planned as stupa temple only stupa temple. No Buddha image was planned anywhere. Buddha cult was not here in Dakshinapath. It was not there. In North India, in Uttarapath, the case was different. Image cult was already there in North India. In Mathura, you can see. In Dakshinapath, that is the rock cut caves, it was a different kind of Buddhism. And Amravati was also dead by the time Nagarjuna Kurna dead, because there was a hiatus of about 135 years. So that is hiatus 1 in my periodization system. You had period 1 earlier times from the Mauryan period, from the Satvana period up to 3rd century AD, that is 600 years almost, period 1, where all these ancient rock cut caves were made. After that, there came a hiatus, lull period. For 135 years, almost nothing or very little happened. Buddhism was on the back seat.
In this century?
From 326 circa, from 326 up to 460 AD. We don't see any kind of Buddhism in Dakshinapa during this time. Not not a profuse activity. I mean, we are at pains to find the evidence of Buddhism in Dakshinapa during this period of time. And after that, this 460 begins. So when it begins, it is the older Buddhism that begins with stupa worship. So in cave number 19 and in cave number 26, it was only stupa which was planned, no Buddha image. No Buddha image, not a single Buddha image was planned, because nobody worshipped the Buddha in his image. Buddha was worshipped symbolically, what we call stupa or we call chaitya. Chaitya in Pali or Prakrit, but chaitya in Sanskrit. All right. So chaitya ghara was the word in inscription, in ancient inscriptions, but chaitya ghara is the Pali and Prakrit, and chaitya is Sanskrit. In Ajanta in 5th century AD, all the inscriptions in 5th century AD, they are not in Pali, they are not in Prakrit, they are all in Buddhist Sanskrit. Right? So this is, but here is a finer difference. The Sanskrit Buddhism, if we can say something like that, Sanskrit Buddhism was the Mula Sarvastivadin Buddhism. They wrote scriptures, Buddhist scriptures in Sanskrit. And these people, these believers in Sanskrit Buddhism, they worshipped the Buddha in his image. They did not have any problems with this stupa. I'm not saying that there was any kind of animosity. No, but it was simply like that. And when this kind of 19 and 26 began, stupa was planned. They even began carving it as stupa, and Professor Spink has done research and he has given documentation. Physical evidence is there, which suggests that all these caves were begun as stupa and stupa only. And something happened at that point of time, and it happened in Bagh. When these people from Gandhar came, these displaced Buddhist monks fleeing for their life, they were really refugees. When they came with their scriptures, and they believed in Buddha, such kind of Buddha worship, which was the image worship. So this was a new idea in Dakshinapath in central India, and it was accepted. So This plan was changed even when the excavation was beginning. Stupa, even in cave number 16, even in cave number 16, they were excavating the stupa. In cave number 11, they were excavating the stupa. In cave number 6, they were excavating the stupa. Evidence is there. Professor Singh has produced evidence. I have also produced evidence in my research. But during that period of time, they changed the plan. They converted the plan of the stupa, which was already excavated to some extent. They created Buddha image. They carved the Buddha image on the face of that stupa. This change happened, according to my dating, in 467 AD. This transformation from stupa, or the synthesis of stupa and Buddha, happened in the chronology of Ajanta during 467 and 468 AD. In order to find evidence, we will have to go inside the caves. It is right now we are not able to go, but it has been documented and demonstrated in some of my research. So that is the answer how this stupa and image was combined in cave number 19 and 26.